Hi, I'm Abby Hicks from Tweetle Dee Designs, and in this video we're going to be learning how to do the satin stitch. Now the satin stitch is a great stitch for filling. It can fill in petals and leaves and hearts or little dresses on girls, anything that you're stitching that needs a good fill. And the trick to a satin stitch is to keep your stitches nice and smooth. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can do the satin stitch on our little sampler that we're making through these videos. So we've already done 4 of the outline stitches and the lazy daisies and the French knots, and these little flowers we're going to fill in with the satin stitch. And you can see that I already started with one of these flowers by doing a little back stitch as an outline. You can either do an outline for your satin stitch or just stitch without one, but when you have an outline, it kind of ensures that you're going to have a nice smooth line for your stitches. So after doing the back stitch, we're going to start on the outside of where your back stitch was, your line, and in the center of your flower, or whatever it is you're stitching. And you're basically going to go up and then back down right on the other side of your line, straight across, and you're going to pull just like that. So you have one straight line. Then I'm just going to go to one side of it and repeat it right next to the first stitch. And there's stitch 2. I'm going to do another one. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm just creating a nice, smooth, solid fill for this design. And then when I get to the point, to the end, I'm just going to take one little tiny stitch. And you can see I have 1/2 of it filled. We'll do the other half. Now, if you want your satin stitch to lay flat, then you can take your 6 strands of your floss and just reduce it down to, like 2 strands. And just do a very tiny little satin stitch. But if you want your stitch, your satin stitch, to look a little poofy, then you can fill in your space. After you've done your back stitch for your outline, you can fill in the inside with just like a long running stitch that would go the length of your little design element, and then satin stitch over the top of that, and it will raise it up because you're stitching over some threads that are running perpendicular. That's kind of fun when you want like a flower petal in a design to look really thick. And I have one last little stitch. And this little flower is done. You can see there's the satin stitch. Now, if you don't do an outline, all you would do is just go up on your line and back down, and you just have to be extra careful to make sure as you're going across that you're following your line so that your satin stitches all are nice and smooth in a row and not jagged. Because the purpose of the satin stitch is to have a really nice smooth satin look. That's why it's called the satin stitch. So there's 2 of them. Now for this floss, I'm using the Sue Spargo Eleganza again, which is that thicker twisted floss, and so I don't separate it, but I like the look of it because it's thicker and it gives some texture without having to do fill to my satin stitch. So I hope you enjoy this stitch. I use it a lot for florals and, you know, like filling in little bee bodies and leaves. And sometimes I use it for lettering if I'm doing like a cursive letter. And I'll make one part of it a little wide and then do the satin stitch down around those letters. It kind of gives the look of, you know, like a calligraphy lettering. And then one little point. And you can see how doing the back, you know, when you do the outline in the back stitch outline, it raises up your your satin stitch just a little. All right, there we go. We will have this little sampler will be posted online in the shop, www.tweetledeedesigns.com, for purchase as a kit, which is fun for anyone who's wanting to learn how to do these basic stitches and have something fun to show for it. So you can find that little kit and we'll design as we go. We'll be doing some more line stitches in it next, and then some other decorative stitches too. For more information, you can find me at tweetledeedesigns.com.